Are you going to hit record again? All right, Freedom Builders, we're back with our team FSBO queen, Miss Jackie KRAVITZ today. And welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, girls. I appreciate it. I love being here. This is super fun. It really is. I love FSBOs and I love talking about it. I could talk about it for days on end. So
And you do, because that's your job, right? SALESX, that's all she does is talk about FSBOs and expireds because you're the queen. So just for the people that are watching that don't know you, Jackie's been a coach and a trainer for over 20 years. And she, in her height of her career, was listing over 100 for sale by owners a year and 50 expired. So 150 listings a year over year over year. And then, built her life that way and decided to go into coaching and training and mentoring agents. So that's what she's going to do today. And today we're going to break it down. Agents have already, you've done some FSBO scripts with them, how to get a FSBO, the language, the art of it, the mindset. What most agents wanted is, okay, Jackie, I got the appointment. I'm freaking out. Now I get to the house. I knock on the door. Take us through, and if you want to role play it with me, I mean, however you want to teach it, maybe it's just, you can stop the role play and coach on what you're saying and why. So I think they need to know why you're saying what you're saying and what you're doing. So take it away, Jackie.
yeah. So before we start, I want to say this. On my YouTube channel, Jackie KRAVITZ, you're on YouTube. You watch all Tina's stuff. Her YouTube channel is amazing. On my YouTube channel, there's a playlist titled Live Listing Presentation. And I'm saying this because in the time that we have, we're not going to be able to go through. I'm going to go through as much as possible. But like I said, I could, not that this presentation is long, but it's not always the same. It's not always exactly the same. Just as when you're on the phone with a for sale by owner, every call is the same, but it's a little bit different because you're dealing with a human being that's responding a certain way. So I'm going to give you as much as I can. But if you go on my YouTube channel under the live listing presentation playlist, there's a video there. It's about an hour. And I did it with a client of SALESX training. It's a FSBO call, the pre-qualifying of the appointment, and then the actual appointment. In the SALESX platform, we have a few of those. There are a few videos of different FSBO presentations. On YouTube, there's one. So as much as I give you here, if you want to watch everything from beginning to end, you'll see it there. Even on that video, the FSBO presentation, so let me start by saying this. In SALESX training, Tina, you have access to that. You probably don't need it because you're just managing your amazing team. And I know some of your agents have access to it. There's a tab, there's a section of the training on skills. And in that section, I broke down every little piece of the for sale by owner presentation. There are 35 between 15 and 20-minute lessons. So in an hour, I'm going to give you some highlights, but it's not, even the YouTube video is not going to have it all. If you want it all, you're going to have to join SALESX training because it takes time. And even the clients, there are 35 lessons, 15, 20 minutes each, and they have to watch it dozens of times. Like I did. This is how I learned this stuff. First, like you, I used to role play with a lot of great agents. I had role plays recorded and I would listen to it over and over. And then I personally put together bits and pieces of different things and ideas that I had, and I created my own presentation. But this was years in the making, in the practicing. And so, just saying.
Well, I think that I want to unpack what you just said, because I think a lot of real estate agents today, they never get into practicing the art of sales, the art of the language, NLP. They don't take their presentation seriously. I think that's really what happens. And they end up just doing the same presentation that they created, which was just their everyday thing. Like when agents really look at what they're saying the same thing every time. It just may not be as effective as really picking a presentation, mastering it, and then learning how to deliver it.
Absolutely. And I say all of this because that it takes time, that it's 35 lessons and it's this long, because when I covered in the SalesX, when I covered it in all of these lessons in the SalesX platform, and there are a lot of different videos of the entire presentation, all the same and all a little bit different. It's important to understand that I give the clients, and I give you as much as I can here in this hour, a lot of tools. And you're not gonna, with only one particular FSBO seller, you're on the appointment, you're not gonna use all of the tools. You're gonna have to see, when you master the tools, Tina, like you said, when you own the presentation, an effective presentation, you're able to listen intently and use common sense. So you're not going to use all 35 lessons. You're not going to spend like 24 hours with them. No, you're going to make a I guess, a decision in the moment on what tools to pull that are going to work well in this situation with their objections. Because again, they're all the same. FSBOs are selling on their own to save the commission. My entire FSBO script on the phone is based on getting as quickly as possible to the question, is saving the commission the main reason why you decided to sell it yourself instead of using an agent? I know the answer to that question. You know, in sales, you want to ask questions you know the answer to. I know the answer. And sometimes they say, no, it's just that I have the time, or I sold, they give you another reason. But in the end, it always comes down to the money, because they could have the time, they could have sold 10 properties on their own before, but if they knew that that would cost them thousands of dollars, they would be listing with an agent. So the money is why they're doing it like that. The issue most agents have, so the for sale owner presentation when you get to the house, it really is based on showing them how your commission will be an investment and not an expense in their mind. And I understand it very clearly, because before I got a real estate license, I did have my house for sale as a FSBO. So I understand exactly the mind of a FSBO, because I was one. So when you get to the house, if this for sale by owner doesn't see a reason, and I use the word value, and sometimes I think, do agents really understand what I mean by value? Value meaning like a return on the investment. In their mind, the commission is an expense, and now they're knocking on my door. The commission is an expense and not an investment. If whatever you say during that presentation, at the end, they're still thinking your commission is an expense, would you list with an agent if you were in that situation? No. And you cannot, they're smart people. So they're not going to list with you unless they see the benefit, that it is an investment for them. That's the bottom line. End of story. So the return on investment, let me start from the beginning. For sale by owners have problems that they don't know they have. And when you speak with a for sale by owner on the phone, they are very confident. Of course, they're confident that they're going to sell, especially in a market like right now, right? Super hot market. They know they're going to sell it. They're confident. They've done it before, whatever the situation may be. And a lot of agents are not confident that they can really, that their commission is going to be a value to the seller. I speak with a lot of clients, even though they have access to the SalesX platform, they have all these, they have like endless live role plays. We do live calls. They come sometimes to the calls and they say, well, yeah, I spoke with this FSBO and, they're asking 500,000. And, I know the area, they're really well priced and the market is really hot. I think they will sell it. And I don't think I could sell it for more. You know what? Don't call them again. Because what's the point? what are you going to call them for? You don't believe that you could actually, you believe that they could do the same thing that you can do, then let them do it. How do you convince somebody of something you don't believe in? You don't. So why waste your time? Go do something else. Having said that, in order, there are two ways to approach a for sale by owner. You can call them and keep following up until they are ready, meaning they get tired of what they're doing and they realize it's not working and they decide to list with an agent and you're around. So you take the listing. When I got into real estate 26 years ago, it was a buyer's market. That worked. That actually worked for me, because my first 2 years, that's what I was doing. I had no idea. Everything that I'm saying to you right now, I had zero clue. So my first year, I'm calling FSBOs. I wasn't afraid of them. They're easier to talk to on the phone than a new expired. So I talked to them. I was working at the time for Century 21, and they gave me like this. It was like a 2-hour presentation. You ever seen those, Tina? Would
Oh,
stuff
yes.
about the company, and he'll put people to sleep, and I'm like, what? And they're like, what do I care about all this? I didn't have a track record, so I'd go do my FSBOs, and back then they didn't have access online to figure out how much the houses were, so I could do a CMA for you and I could show you, and they're like, okay, come. And I go and I spend 2 hours and I leave without the listing. Of course, I didn't even ask them to sign because I didn't do that. And then I call him back a week later, and I call him back 2 weeks later and 3 weeks later, and I'm talking to them. Oh, how was the open house? And they're like, oh, good. Yeah, you ready to list? No, okay, I'll call you back. That's an approach. It worked for me. My very first FSBO, it took 3 months of following up the listing that I took. 3 months of this blah, blah, blah. And they finally, they got tired of it. They were like, 3 months, buyer's market, ton of inventory. Even what was in the MLS was not selling. So they're like, okay, Jackie, we're ready now. Come over, we'll list with you. And I'm thinking, okay, I have no idea why you chose me, because I have no idea what I'm doing. And you're going to be my first listing. And the seller, it was funny, that seller said to me, he signs, says, you want to know why we listed with you? I said, why? He said, because the first week we put it on the market 3-4 months ago, we had calls from 50 agents. A month later, maybe 5 of the 50 were following up. 3 months later, you're the only one. So, hey, you got the listing. Literally through sheer they got to a point where this is not working. That's one approach. The other approach is they're not ready, but you can make them ready by showing the financial benefit of working with you as a great agent. Eventually, within like my 3rd year, we had a conversation the other day. You said by your 4th year, you kind of feel like you know what you're doing. Exactly like that. Those first 2 years, it was a lot of this, and then I started learning some things, but I didn't have it quite together. And by my 4th year, by my 3rd year, I was doing much better with FSBOs and expireds. My 4th year, I closed 100 transactions, all FSBOs and expireds, but I had this presentation down. So now I can make them ready. I don't have to wait 3 months. And thank goodness, because this was year 2000. And in the first, those early 2000s, it turned into a seller's market like what we have now. That approach of following up with 3 months doesn't work. They would sell, and the majority list faster too. That was my first experience. And then some agents would say, well, if they're able to sell on their own in a hot seller's market, well, then they don't need you. They do, because if they sell on their own, it will cost them money. They will be leaving money on the table. Can they sell it? 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that any FSBO can sell in a market like this. In any market, really, given the right price. But that's the key. They're doing it on their own to save money, but it will end up costing them money. They just don't know. The challenge is, so now it takes me to what I was saying. They have problems. They don't know they have problems. And the challenge for a lot of real estate agents, the agents don't know, they don't think they have problems either. So it's like, okay, so it's like the blind leading the blind, right?
That's exactly right.
So, right. So let me start with the problems that they have, because when you get to the appointment, that's how you're coming in. You told them on the phone, if I can show you a way how my commission will be an investment, not an expense, if there's a financial benefit, you know, there's a lot of different clauses. And they say, sure, come over, show me. So now, what are the problems that they have? The first one is limited exposure. Now, they have the home on hundreds of websites. They have whatever else. They're doing open houses. They have a sign in the yard. They have whatever they're doing. All of their, well, everything they do is to get more exposure, so more people know about the house. They understand the importance of that. They just think that they're getting all the exposure they need. And when you speak with them, especially now, there's some live FSBO calls on my YouTube channel, like live. They're literally like right now. I call them 2 weeks ago. I don't do this all the time. I put him on speaker. It's recorded. You could hear it. And Tina, here's what's fascinating. They're saying exactly the same thing they did 26 years ago. I have agents all the time. Well, it's different now. You know, the market is different. Well, no, it's not. Like once a month, I sit with Vulcan 7, Espresso Agent Open. I dial, they answer, same thing. And you could hear, there's a bunch of them on my channel. So anyway, so you talk to them now and they say, oh, no, I don't. What are the objections? I don't need an agent. I don't want to pay a commission. It's a hot market. I'm getting a lot of activity. Bring me a buyer, I'll pay you a commission. Same exact thing that I've heard all the years that I was selling real estate. And now it's, oh yeah, well, I'm getting a lot of calls from buyers and agents, you know, they're just like super active. And I have offers. There's one there that I set an appointment with a couple of weeks ago. I have 2 offers right now. I got an appointment. I don't go on these appointments. I refer them out. I don't sell actively. I have a license, but my job is, I'm a coach. I don't. And so.
Well, Jackie, I got to tell you real quick before I forget it. We listed a FSBO. They had 2 offers, one for $640, another one for $720. They said, but the seller wanted them to move, or the buyer wanted them to move out in 7 days. So they rejected it. We listed it and got 5 offers and got them $750. So,
well, there you go. That's it. That's exactly what's going on. And you know this, Tina, that a lot of agents, like I said before, well, you know, I think that, you know, they have offers. So obviously, you know, they're doing good. They don't need me. Okay. Guess what? You're right. They don't need you. If I call right behind you or
they
Tina.
need someone. They need me.
Exactly.
Yeah. They need Jackie and I.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So first problem is limited exposure. And then I'm gonna break it down a little bit. And when I break it down, you're gonna understand what's part of this presentation. Because I know you asked for the presentation, but I gotta say all of this because otherwise, look, Tina, it's like you say, agents want scripts. Okay, here's the script. What are you gonna do with it? Nothing.
Exactly.
You don't know how to think. You don't understand, like you don't have the mindset. You don't know how to deliver the scripts. Like it's useless. Okay, you get the script. So like, what do you do with it now? Zero. Understanding all of this, because like I said, how do you convince somebody of something you don't believe in? You don't. So first you got to work on your belief. And I did that for many, many years. It's like, this didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like magical because all the agents want the magic one. I don't have it. If I had it, SalesX training wouldn't cost $9.99 a year. It would cost, I don't know, 10 million a year, maybe. Yeah, no magic ones yet. Working on creating it. Okay,
me too.
So limited exposure. Problem number 2, unqualified buyers. Just write that down. I'm going to come back to it. Problem number 3, bargain hunters, buyers that are they're looking for a deal. Problem number 4, legal liability. Number 6, no negotiating skills. And the final one, which you don't always, again, giving all the tools, you don't throw all the tools, you don't get there and go, no, listen, Use common sense. I don't know how to teach that. Do you know how to teach people listening skills? Yes, but common sense, I've been trying to figure that out. Okay. The last one is security, like safety and security. So when I think about that now, I'm just going to talk about, because safety and security, I'm not going to come back to it. Then I'll go back to problem number one. Safe, when I think about that, FSBOs, here's what they're doing. Somebody knocks on their door. They go to the door. It's a stranger. They look through. Yes, can I help you? Yeah, I just want to come in and look at your house, like tour your house. Is that okay? Who would think of opening the door? And this is actually what they're doing. So I think about it now, like I was a FSBO. I out of my mind, because I mean, I live in a building with 24/7 security. Nobody, they take your picture before they let you in. They call me. It's like they text me. It's insane. And you know, I don't feel like I live in an unsafe place, but it's just like, can you imagine somebody knocking on your door? Like you have no idea who they are. And like you come in and show you.
Let them in.
Anyway,
Exactly.
that alone is a reason to hire an agent. I'll tell you that. Okay, so so you got the 6 problems, yes? Do these problems cost them money? Yeah, a lot of money. Can you, as a great agent, solve these problems for them? Yes. And that is how you net them more money. That's how your commission becomes an investment. It's by you solving the problems that cost them money. The challenge you have is they don't think they have any problems. And so communication is an art. And that's why having the script is not going to help you. I tell you that. Because you have to work on the art of delivering, and the part of the art of the delivery is what's going on in your head. Exactly. So now think about it. They have problems. They don't know they have them. You can't just show up to for sale by owner and say, well, you know, you have limited exposure and your buyers are unqualified. Agents do that. Agents sometimes do that over the phone. I still have FSBOs. I used to have this happen all the time, but they still say, sometimes they'll say, well, you know, it's amazing. I'm getting like 100 calls from real estate agents every day, and I hang up on everyone. I don't know why I'm speaking with you. Because, and you know, all the agents they're calling, they just say that what I'm doing is not working, and they're telling me all the things. Do you know anybody that likes to be wrong? Because that's what agents do. They, you know, they hear an objection. Now, this doesn't matter. It could be over the phone. It could be in person. They hear an objection and they just attack it. Well, you know, but if you did that, if you list with me, then I can qualify the buyers, and you know, we could do this, we could do that. And you're making them feel like what they're doing is not working. It's wrong. They start to feel like, well, just like wrong. You're making them wrong. It's not gonna work. They got the power, like that hang up button. Yeah, they're like, yeah, you know, I'm busy. I'm not interested right now. Click. Done. And agents are doing that all of the time. Why do they talk to me? Because I don't care what they say. I'd say, Tina, I completely understand. I mean, you could, yes, the market is hot. You're getting a lot of interested buyers. You have 2 offers on the table. I have no doubt that you can sell it yourself. I mean, plus you sound like a smart lady. Clearly, you know what you're doing. It's not even a question about whether or not you could sell it. Like, I don't care what they say to me on the phone, in person. This is what comes before I handle any objection. And then I don't say all of this and say, but, because I'm negating everything that I just said. So, and yes, it's an art. Now, I learned it from massive amounts of practice. I used to spend an hour a day chanting scripts, standing up in front of a freaking mirror over and over, an hour a day. Like my kids were little, they thought I was insane. What is mom doing locked up in the laundry room, chanting the same thing for an hour? I used to
Or
do
in the
that.
bathroom mirror.
There
Or in
you
my headphones. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in the car, listening to recorded role plays. Like you might remember, you know, Mike Ferry scripts and skills. You remember? And you never
Oh,
met Ender LK?
Yep. Yep.
Master, my gosh, skilled. He doesn't coach anymore. I talked to him like a month ago. I love that guy. He was my one-on-one coach for a while. Like
Oh,
hands
Len
down.
Ender. Didn't we hear him yesterday with Bill Pipes? Was that Len? That was Len. Older
Oh,
guy.
Ender,
He's got a little
Ender,
bit.
no, Ender LK.
Oh, okay. Does he have like a little bit of an accent?
He's
Ish?
Canadian, so yeah,
Oh, no, it wasn't him. No, I was thinking of somebody different.
he's from Vancouver. Anyway, this
But do you
guy.
love how Jackie like fell in love? She's like, oh, the way that
Oh
he,
my
because it's an
God.
art, right? Communication's an art. And if you don't love the art of it, like real estate's not about opening doors. It's not about
Oh,
showing
not at all.
houses or
Not at all.
negotiating contracts. It's the art of communication, right?
It
The art of the words that you say.
100%. No, like
Yeah.
talk about fall in love. I used to have his, because he was my one-on-one coach for a couple of years, and he also taught a skills and script 6-month program. I recorded those on cassette. Remember, like
Mhm.
it's like
Oh, yeah.
people here like, what she talking about? So I got to the point of rewinding and listening. I transcribed every word. I listened to it out for like hours a day. So all of a sudden, you know, after a few years of that, my goal was to be the female Ender. That's it. That's my
Yeah.
goal. And after a few years, I was afraid of those cassettes breaking, you know, because it was like a little tape inside.
Yeah.
You keep winding that thing. And then I paid hundreds of dollars and sent it across country to have a professional put those tapes in CDs for me. Because I'm like, this is gold. It's like, this is the most amazing thing. Transcribing word for word so that I could, and then chanting, and it's like endless. But no, you want the magic answer. Give me the presentation right now. Okay, I'm trying to. It's just I get a little carried away. The limited exposure, the unqualified buyers. So making them wrong, you know, I was talking about that. You don't just show up and say, well, let me tell you all the problems you have. Okay. They'll be showing you to the door, like within a minute, you'll be out of there. So the third one I said is bargain hunters. Let me go back to the limited exposure. According to NAR, every year, 2 years, NAR publishes the profile of buyers and sellers. I highly recommend you log into your NAR account, you download that thing, read. It's, I don't know, over 100 pages. It's a long report. You should read every word of it because you're a real estate professional. You're supposed to be an expert. You need knowledge, gives you confidence. So part of that report is on FSBOs. And when I started kind of figuring out like, okay, I got to learn this stuff, they were publishing those reports back then, and they still do. The lowest I've seen, you know, the part of the survey study, whatever, they study sales nationwide. That's what NAR does. And the lowest, so for sale by owners sell on average nationwide, I've seen as low as 16% up to 32% less than the homes, the agent assisted sales. The lowest, the 16%, was in the early 2000s. Right now, it's probably around 20%. I think it was 2021. 20, I don't have the exact stats because I've been looking at the 2020 and 2021. But anyway, it's around 20%. Less than the agent assisted sales. Oh, how is that possible? You got to believe what you're talking about, because otherwise you won't be able to convince them of anything. So why is this so important? Because NAR, that same report on the FSBO portion of that report, about 92%, 92 was in 2020, it's around the same 2021. 92% of buyers nationwide buy from a real estate agent. It's a fact. Oh, is it? Like, a lot of people sell on their own. It's a fact.
It's a fact.
So now, think about it. So the fact that over 92% buy from agents is one reason. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why they have limited exposure. Because if 92% are buying from agents, what percentage of buyers are left for FSBOs? 8%. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to break this down quickly, because out of that 8%, half of these FSBOs buy from someone they knew before they even, so like it wasn't a FSBO like open to people that they don't know. Like they sold it to somebody they knew. So only 4% are actually out there exposing their property online or doing open houses or wherever their buyers are coming from. So now that ties into, this is part of the presentation, that ties into a basic law of economics that anybody would know. I don't have a college degree. I never took an economics class, but I've heard about supply and demand. And I know that the more basic law of economics, the more demand you can create for any product or service you want to sell, the higher the price you'll sell it for. And an auction, this is part of the presentation, is the perfect example of how more demand equals more money. You ever bought anything on eBay? Let's say you find a pair of sunglasses that you love, and there's a starting bid for, or have you ever been to an auction? That's another. Have you ever been to an auction? Yes, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're gonna say next is the same. If they never been to an auction, eBay, even if they never bought anything on eBay, most people understand, or you explain. So if you, let's say you get on eBay and you're looking to buy a pair of sunglasses, you find the perfect one that you love. The starting bid is $100, and you make a bid for $100. That's the starting bid, and the bidding is about to end, and you're the only bidder, nobody else, and the bidding ends. So if you're the only bidder, what are you gonna pay for those sunglasses? $100, and it's yours. What's gonna happen if you bid 100 and then somebody else comes in and bids 110 and somebody else 120? Now there are few people that have been watching them just as much as you have, and they want it, and they start bidding a little bit higher, somebody a little higher than the other, and all of a sudden the bidding is about to end and there are 5 bidders. How much could you end up paying for these sunglasses if you really want them?
You know, it's funny, Jackie. I'll tell you this. So my mother, I learned this from my mother with eBay. So when she lists a product, let's say those glasses are worth $200, you bid them, you put them on for 100, you're going to get a low amount of bids, even though you'll get some. You start those sunglasses at 99 cents. By the time they get to $100, which is right around where she should have started, they have 55, 60, 70 bids. So when you're scrolling through and you see this one pair of sunglasses and 75 people want them, immediately you have to have them. And so it's the same thing with marketing. If we start a home at a little bit of a lower price, what happens? That's so cheap. I have to bid. Oh my God, I got to at least try. Well, now you've bid and you've got 3 offers and 5 offers and 7 offers in, and now it's created this demand, and that's marketing, right? So not only is it an auction, it's also marketing and psychology.
And that's a pricing strategy that we need to be able to help our sellers understand. And it's happening now more than ever. I have a friend, he happens to be a real estate agent too here in Miami, and he listed his dad's condo for $290,000, slightly underpriced. Within 3 days, they sold it for $315,000.
Believe it.
I mean, it's happening way higher prices than that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But it happens all the time. And now the sellers have no clue. They're like, and most of the agents are even, they don't understand the conversation. They're afraid to have the conversation. So you're doing a disservice to your clients. Anyway, so an auction. So how much could you end up paying for those sunglasses if there are 5 bidders? I don't know. Who knows? Definitely higher than 100. More demand equals more money. It's a basic law of economics, no matter what is going on. So now when you tie that into the fact that 92% of buyers are using agents, and as a for sale by owner, you're really only attracting 8% of buyers on the market. Actually, it's less, but you don't need to get into the details with them, but you should know as part of the NAR report. How are they gonna sell this home for the absolute highest price the market will give them with 8% exposure? It's literally impossible. And then if the market is so hot, if they put the house for sale today and tomorrow morning they have a full price offer, they're underselling it. They didn't expose this property. And even if they wait a week, a month, or whatever, remember 92% of buyers are buying from agents. And why they buy from agents? Because first of all, there's the types of buyers, right? Why would a buyer pass up all the knowledge, the experience, the hand holding, and the fact that in most cases, sellers are paying the buyer's agent commission? And if the property is in the MLS paying 3%, the seller has agreed to pay that commission. So in most cases, the services of an agent are free to this buyer. So what is going to motivate a buyer to pass all of that up and go directly to a FSBO? Problem number 3, looking for a deal. So they're dealing with bargain hunters. Let's talk about problem number 2 a little bit, which is unqualified buyers. That's not just a FSBO problem. That is a problem that all of you have. Big time. It's separating the lookers from the ready, willing, and able buyers. You don't get paid for showing homes. Oh, somebody wants to see a house, so let me go out there and show it to you. According to NAR, about 4% of all the buyer inquiries that you get, no matter where they're coming from, it could be from an online source, the buyers are coming to you. It could be an open house. It could be a sign call. It could be whatever it is, social media. A buyer contacts a real estate agent. Only 4% are ready, willing, and able. A huge percentage of frozen equity. What does that mean? They have a house to sell. That's not even under contract yet. They're thinking about it. Like, think that would be a good idea. We need a bigger house. Yeah, before we put ours for sale, let's go look at some properties and see what we could get and see what's going on. That's about 70% of them. I know there's a listing opportunity there, but you have listing opportunities with every FSBO and expired every day. If you pick up the phone and know how to speak with them, you take a listing same day. So what do you do with this buyer? They want to look at properties right now. They're not ready to buy. And a lot of agents are afraid to say to them, look, how they're like, yeah, I don't get paid for showing houses, and you may sell, you may never sell and buy, like you have no idea what's going on. So being able to separate the lookers from the buyers. Now, agents have a challenge doing that. And can you imagine a for sale by owner? Like everybody who call, what? So in that part about not making them wrong, when you talk to them and say, I'm getting a lot of activity and I get so many people wanting to see the house and coming over and blah, blah, blah. Okay. What percentage of that is ready, willing, and able, knowing that only 4% are? And out of that 4% that's ready, willing, and able, 92% are working with buyers. So what percentage is actually potentially could buy from them of all this activity they're getting? It's an illusion. They don't know. They don't know this is going on. And, you know, it's fascinating too, like these FSBOs that say, now, could a FSBO sell on their own? Of course. I already said that from the beginning. I have zero doubt in my mind that they could sell. And I know that, I mean, comparison, and I don't mean to say this disrespectfully, but if they were to hire an average agent, they might as well sell on their own. They'll be better off. But I know that if I am playing this FSBO game and they don't list with me, they're making a mistake. That's gonna cost them money, time, and aggravation. Because even, and I used to have this happen all the time, like you call FSBO and they say, yeah, I have a contract. In the early 2000s, I used to hear that all the time. I have a contract. And I would say, oh, excellent, good for you. Have you already signed the contract? No, most of them, they don't even know what a contract is. It's not like they're dumb. It's just like they're not real estate agents. They don't think like you and I. So, oh, have you signed the contract yet? No, but I got somebody yesterday. They love the house and they said they're bringing me a contract today. They called that having a contract.
Or I have a buyer. Oh, I have a buyer. Right. Heard that too.
Right.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. But if most real estate agents, when the FSBO says I have a contract, they say, oh, okay, well, good luck. Click.
Digging deeper.
And I remember also, I mean, the early 2000s, those years that I was listing 100 FSBOs a year, there were more FSBOs in Fort Lauderdale and stuff where I was selling real estate in that county than I could possibly ever speak with. Like, there were so many, everybody was a FSBO. It's like now, this is a FSBO market. The biggest opportunity agents have right now is FSBOs because there are a ton of them. There are fewer expireds because the market is hot. In a buyer's market, it's the opposite. There are more expireds. But right now, it's a huge opportunity all over the place. Everybody thinks they could sell on their own, but especially now. So I remember also in the early 2000s, sometimes FSBO say I have a they actually had a contract. They had it signed and they had a closing date of May 30. They're closing. And sometimes if I would ever run out of the new ones to call, I would follow up on some of these that had contracts because the majority of them fall apart. Yeah, I learned that from doing it. I would call them 2 weeks prior to closing. And some of them, oh yeah, no, the contract didn't work out. We already listed with an agent. Again, I had that happen recently with a friend. Sold the property to a tenant that had been living there for 3 years. Sold it, meaning signed a contract. The tenant wanted to buy, they wanted to sell. They signed a contract, spent 3 weeks under contract, and then they couldn't get a mortgage. And that's it. They had to move out and the property was listed. And they were underselling it by tens of thousands of dollars because they were selling to somebody they knew. That's that 4%, half of that 8% that sell on their own. So, I mean, just right here, see how much information is there. And I mean, I'm just scratching the surface. Would you always say all of this to a FSBO on an appointment? No, probably most of it. I like to start the presentation sharing some NAR stats, the stats that we were talking about, Mr. Speller. I know over the phone we spoke about, the whole reason why you allow me to come over is because I mentioned to you that I am confident that hiring me is the best financial decision you can make. And you said, okay, I have no idea how that's possible, but come over. I want to hear more about it. And I know that's why you allowed me to come over today. So I appreciate the opportunity. And so since I know that obviously walking away from the closing table with the most money possible is what's most important to you, Mr. Salar, I'd like to start our meeting today by sharing with you some of the reasons why I am so confident that I will benefit you financially. That's like first stuff out of my mouth. That's how I start. So a for sale by owner listing presentation is not like an expired presentation or anybody else, because you got to address the elephant in the room here, which is your commission, and how your commission is going to be an investment before you get to price and CMA and even what you do. If you have a marketing plan, what you do to sell homes, it's going to be incorporated inside this FSBO presentation, because remember, the limited exposure is a huge part of this. So right in there, you could insert like all that you do to maximize the exposure, to ensure that 100% of the buyers and 100% of the agents who are working with buyers know that their house is for sale. Because I'm sure you would agree, Mr. Seller, that's the type of exposure we need to sell your home for the most money possible. And ultimately, that's what you want, isn't it? And they're like, yeah.
And this conversation, Jackie, after you get to the house, of course, you do the walkthrough with them and stay kind of quiet and take all the notes. And then you go to the table. This is the conversation. So you all that are watching know that she starts with.
Yeah.
She starts with some of their perceived pain points, but some NAR stats and why she believes that her commission is an investment. And that way they're thinking about all the challenges they're going to have.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, I said earlier about don't make them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell them you got this problem. It's going to cost. As I am speaking with them, they're in their head thinking, oh yeah, well, yeah, I already realized that all the people that are calling me, half don't show up, and the other one's this and that, and you know, they're in their head, like they're connecting the dots. I mean,
right.
When you're really present, listening intently, you know, emotional intelligence, you kind of like, you can tell, and you're using body language, and you're using a lot of tie downs, and they're agreeing with you. It's not like you get there and you just lecture them on this. That's not going to work either, which is what a lot of agents do. Well, I'm working to master the presentation. So here's the presentation. I just show up and I verbal vomit on them for 20 minutes. And then I'm like, what? Yeah, no, that's not going to work either. It's an art. All right, girl. We have 8 minutes.
I love it.
I have a question.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, let's open it up for questions. So, because there's a lot, and obviously, if you weren't here, Jackie has a lot of this content on her YouTube page, the full presentation and all that stuff. So, go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh yeah, this training can happen at a better time, because yesterday I made my first FSBO call. It was a neighbor who lives 8 doors down, and he rents his house out. But,
Live in Brazil?
yeah, and it was on MLS, so he paid.
I'm from Brazil.
What's that?
I'm from Brazil.
Oh no, I didn't say Brazil. I'm sorry. What? I must have.
She said for sale.
Oh,
His house was for sale.
Okay. Yeah. So,
Brazil by owner. Yeah.
Brazil by owner.
Okay.
And it was on MLS, so he purchased the MLS listing for like $150 or something like that.
Yeah.
And when I asked him, so I know he has exposure on MLS, which gave him exposure on
Not the same.
realtor.com and all the others, but I asked him where he came up with the listing price. It was $372,500. He's like, I don't know. I just figure the market's hot and I'm getting a lot more than what I paid for it. I said, do you know right across the street from you, that smaller house sold for $410 just like 2 months ago, and the one behind me, which needed a lot of work, sold for $485. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm like, yeah. So this is why you have to, you know, talk to realtors or get the comps to find out what the market's going for. And I know he doesn't want to pay commission, but he could honestly probably get maybe, I'm guessing at least $410, if not $420. And
They don't want to pay the commission. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is something to recommend, but he said he needs to
Let
review.
me mention a couple of quick things, Jennifer, about this, because the first thing that comes to my mind is if their house is in the MLS, you want to be careful with this, because in order for this I call them FlatFee companies, which they're all over the place now, and they were around in the early 2000s. That was the biggest objection that I had. ability to put it in the MLS for, you know, $300, $100, whatever. So they got problems with that too. So there's a way, that's an objection. And again, it's all about value. Yeah, just throwing it in the MLS. Here's an objection handler for this. MLS is a great tool. And a tool is only as good as the craftsman that uses it. You know, it's kind of like this. Here's another objection handler for this. Kind of like this, Jennifer. When you think about it, these companies have access to you. This conversation has to happen before they list with this company, because now that they're listed with this company, you speaking with them can be an NAR ethics complaint.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well,
So
I also told him, just as a neighbor,
well,
yeah,
I don't care who you are. If the house is listed, it's an NAR code of ethics. Like, you're not supposed to solicit business from someone that's using another agent.
Okay, so you can solicit FSBOs on MLS then? So,
I used to have, you know, the objection handler I gave you, tools only as user. That's before, because I got to a point that objection was so common for me in the early 2000s. And I realized that they would tell me, sometimes I'd get a lead, you know, I wasn't able to set the appointment on the first call, and I call them back. And by the time I call them back, they listed with a flat fee company. And that happens so much. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start bringing it up on the first call. Yeah, I could definitely follow up with you. I'm just curious. I'm sure you're aware there are companies that you could pay $150 and they could put it in the MLS for you. Are you thinking that at some point you might consider that option? They'll say, well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. They haven't done it yet. Now I got that out. Now I can handle it. That's what I used to do.
so if you
So,
were to call me back and use me, I have to say.
well, they're
no.
listed, Jennifer, though. Anyway, Tina, I'll let you speak to this.
No, I was gonna say too, if you ever see a FSBO and it is you find out it's listed through MLS, one of those flat fee companies. Because again, if I list a FSBO and I'm a flat fee broker, I could file an ethics complaint against you. But if you do a circle dialing call, right, where you're just calling the street, hi, this is Jennifer, I'm a local real estate agent, I'm calling because I have buyers that want to move into your neighborhood, and you don't know that it's listed, obviously that just is an end to the conversation. So they don't pick up the phone, tell their broker, oh, Jennifer called me. This lady Jennifer called me and said, I've underlisted my property. Why are you a bozo? Why did you not guide me? Well, because you're flat fee. But if they hear your name and they're listed, they could fine you for soliciting a listed property. So just FYI, not saying call them, but if you were to circle dial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have something that's off topic though. He was saying, well, it definitely needs a new roof, and there's a lot of people putting on new roofs in my neighborhood. Sometimes I think maybe they're going to be listing their house soon. But do you suggest to your clients, if they need a new roof, to pay the $2,500 deductible and add value to your home? I know it's totally off topic, but I just
Tina?
want to ask.
Well, it depends, if the roof has hail damage and there's only a $2,500 deductible and the insurance is going to cover the roof, absolutely, why not? But if they're going to put on a new roof, it just depends. It depends on the demand, right? Jackie was talking about supply and demand. Right now, the demand is strong. So when we list a property and it needs a new roof, you could negotiate a credit so you don't have to jump through that. I wasn't a big proponent of making the seller jump through a million hoops to get the home listed, because a lot of them, don't have money, or they don't want to spend their money, just like, a buyer doesn't want to put on a roof. So it just really depends. And 372 price point, 400 price point is really hot right now. So I would have probably went in and said, look, I can create more demand for you. We can position this property a little bit better to expose it to even more agents in the market and, obviously get it sold at a higher price. So he's already paying the commission at that lower price at this point. He's paying triple amount the commission.
Another thing I just read about are a lot of these people are buying the home sight unseen, and some people are buying them from other countries. And, and after they send in a money order or a cashier's check, they said they don't want the house, want a refund, ask for the money back, and then they find out later that it was fraudulent. money order. It was just
Yeah.
one of my magazines I was reading, but it's another thing to be.
That does happen. I mean, you just, depending on which side you're on, you want to be really cautious. You know, if you're talking to an international buyer, they can wire funds and hold them at an attorney's office, one that would hold those funds. Weren't we just talking about that, Trevor? In our meeting, we were talking about doing that, like holding the due diligence fee.
Yeah, certain closing attorneys will do it.
Yeah, certain closing attorneys will hold that in a trust account, depending on how they're set up. If I had the buyer, I would want that certified check, you know, send me the certified check or send me the wire. If you're on the seller's side, you know, and I have a seller and it's an international buyer, same thing. I might say, look, we don't have a contract until this money is in our hands, and it could fall apart. So if there was a different deal I could take where the money was more readily available, I would, just to speed that process up. So if it hasn't happened to you, don't worry about it. But just if you start to get those red flags in your mind, that's when you pick up the phone, call your attorney, you know, or call another agent friend or team leader and get some advice before you know, say something wrong. So, but yeah, I would not pursue the FSBO unless he reached back out to you and wanted you to come over. Like, just make sure that invite was there, and then you could just have the "we were neighbors," you know, conversation if anything were to arise. Because if the minute he goes and cancels his listing commitment, that's when problems could ensue if he were to hire you.
So can any realtor sell an MLS listing?
We can sell an MLS listing. You can pursue a for sale by owner as long as they're not listed with a listing contract. And right now he's listed as, even if he's a FSBO listed in MLS, he still has a contract with some agent that is a flat fee agent. But there's still a human behind that flat fee company.
Is that like a special type of agent that does only flat fee MLS listings?
I mean,
or-
I'm sure that's their shtick. Like, there's a lot of agents that do a flat fee service. That's their marketing plan. And so if I'm a flat fee agent and I'm saying to sellers, hey, I'll list you for 1%, that's my listing contract. So if you were to call all of my sellers that agreed to that 1% flat fee, I would come after you and say, hey, this lady's calling all of my listed properties. They're listed in MLS. Even though I'm only charging them nothing, that's my prerogative. I'm going to charge them this low flat fee. That's my prerogative. So just, you know, the minute they're in MLS, it gets a little tricky.
Okay.
So you just want to be careful. And you didn't know that. So obviously this is a good conversation.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
asked. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. It's better to ask than, you know, get punished later.
I know.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, Jackie, thank you so much. I know everyone's probably going to jump over to watch some of your YouTube videos. Do you have any closing statements, remarks?
Well, I just wanted to say, I'll be back next month. Because I had sent an email and Maria responded that I needed to take a couple of months off in the summer. Really, what I kind of would have been useful was today, because I had people knocking on my door. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was just
Awesome.
wrong scheduling on my part. So we can do this every first Friday of the month, right?
Friday of the month, yes. And we'll put the right link next time, because usually we'll have 40, 50 people on. So I appreciate you, my dear, and go get that renovation complete.
Yes. Happening soon. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you.
Everybody got, I couldn't give you the magic pill, but I trust you got
No.
some value out of this call.
Yes, the mindset's everything. Why are they doing what they're doing? So it's actually the most important foundational step. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.